Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast with your host George Dzunias
and Maria Petrakou. Now today we're going to talk about a destination that is very, very close to my heart, somewhere that I lived for nearly 6 years and traveled to at least 3 times every single year.
I would double that to 6, but anyway, that's just me. So I'm wondering if any of our listeners have already guessed the destination without seeing the title. But let's first do some housekeeping. If you're not following us on Instagram, I don't know what you're doing and I don't know how you found this podcast. So head over to the gram now and hit that follow button on @MyGreekIsland.
That's right, everyone. Now give us a follow so you can keep up to date with the My Greek Island adventures. And heading back to what we're going to talk about today, it is the capital city of Greece.
Athens!
Yay!
And yay! Fist pump. And this is a city we both love so much. And probably one of our common denominators as friends and now co-host. So, without further ado, let's get into today's episode. Music, please.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the My Greek Island podcast, dedicated to take you, the wanderlust, on a journey through Greece.
There are 227 inhabited Greek islands. Which one will you visit next?
My Greek Island, with your hosts George and Maria. Kalimera, George.
Γεια σου, Maria. Okay, so we're talking about Athens. Let's start with some background information for our listeners about Athens, or in Greek, Athina, and describe your Athens to us. And I know you have prepared some really fun facts for us too, haven't you?
I have, maybe not fun facts, but random facts is more accurate. I mean, everyone knows Athens. Everyone's heard of the Parthenon and the Acropolis. So I thought I'd give a few bits and bobs of information that people don't know. So, for example, Greece overall has a population of about 10 million. 40% of that is in Athens. So it's a quite populated city. Now, a fact I love about Athens is that the city's history is so in your face. It's evident wherever you go. And it's so dominated by the landmarks from like the 5th century before Christ, with the Parthenon on the Acropolis, of course, being the most famous of them all. But you walk around the city and history, you're just surrounded by history. And I think 2 cities in the world that manage to get that across to you so intensely is probably Rome and Athens. So that's the second thing that I want to talk about. And then the third thing is that in Greek, Athens is often referred to as Tsimentoupoli, which effectively means the concrete jungle. And what happened was that the city exploded in population and infrastructure after World War II. And it's very interesting to see pictures of the city before and after and to see how it changed. So there was a huge influx of people moving from their villages and the islands into Athens in order to find work. And the city just exploded overnight and lots of buildings. So you do have a lot of buildings coming up in the 70s, and hence why it was called the concrete jungle. And that came at a huge cost to the environment. And I don't know if anyone remembers, but like Athens was just one of the worst cities with respect to traffic and pollution. So I remember growing up when people would talk about the cloud. Now, I know that, Apple thinks that they created the cloud, but the Greeks seem to have invented that first too. So the cloud is effectively what we refer to in Greek as the nephos, and what that was just a black cloud over the city of Athens from the pollution. And so lots of initiatives needed to be done in order to decrease this pollution that was just, you couldn't breathe. I remember when we were young and we would go to Athens, like you just couldn't breathe, and you could see this black cloud over the city. So, and it's also, fun fact, one of the reasons why in 1996 the Olympic Games were not hosted in Athens because of all of this pollution. So the initiatives that were made were a new airport was created outside of the city, which is the airport which is referred to as Athens International Airport that we will fly into in today's age. And I actually remember flying into one of the old airports in Athens, which was the Elliniko, which you can now visit. There's a great project and initiative happening there. The underground, the metro or the metro station was built in order to decrease the number of cars, but also an initiative that happened back there and is still happening is that there is a restriction on the number of cars that can go into the city centre during the day. And the way that they do it is if your number plate ends in an odd or an even number, there's certain days that you can't go into the city centre for certain hours. So I think that's some fun facts about it. Now, to me, Athens is that concrete jungle in which you can look between the ugliness and find beauty in every corner. As long as you open your eyes and you turn around, you can see the history. So it's like a walk-through museum, which sometimes people get caught up in this concrete jungle and miss it. But if you take the time to stroll and explore, you will see it everywhere. And it's also a very vibrant city. It's got great weather, one of the best climates in the world. The coffee culture is something that describes Athens so well. You've got a coffee shop on every single corner in the city. The endless neighborhoods with the completely different characters. You walk down a street and you'll go from one neighborhood to the other, and it's just so different. And so it's like the diversity of the neighborhoods. It is something interesting. The gastronomy, and I think everyone has probably figured out by now that I do like my food, and Athens is definitely a city, in Greece in general, but especially Athens has a great gastronomic scene for those foodies. The nightlife, if you're into the clubs and the Greek music, is amazing. The theatres, and then two things that I really particularly enjoy about Athens is the fact that there are still small independent shops across the board, whether that's a coffee shop or a restaurant or a retailer where you're going to buy your clothes. You still have small independent shops, and those endless alleyways in Athens are just something that I absolutely love.
Wow, you've basically said everything and more that I would say about Athens. Apart from that, I do feel very much at home, even though I was never born in Athens. I do have family there. I feel very much at home when I'm there. One thing you didn't mention, which you talked about the coffee culture and the endless coffee shops, is that we do have an episode on this podcast around Greece's coffee culture. So you missed that opportunity to plug it. Just leaving that there. Anyway, of course, we will talk and analyze each point as we go through the podcast. Do you know how Athens got its name, Hun? Or I think that's probably my part to give a bit of history. So,
I think
are you going to leave it to me?
That.
Okay, so I will say a bit on this. Basically, the Athens got its name from the goddess Athena. So, according to ancient Athenian founding myth, Athena is the goddess of wisdom and war, and she competed against Poseidon, and they basically went to battle and battled it out. Poseidon struck the ground with his trident and a saltwater spring welled up, or in an alternative version, he gave Athenians a first horse. In both versions, however, Athena offered the Athenians the first domesticated olive tree, and Greece is famous for olive and its olive oil. Basically, girl power. Athena won.
Woohoo,
her name was
girl
given to
power.
the city, and the rest is herstory. Boom, boom, boom. But also, Athens was not
Did
always...
you guys see what he did there? It's not history, it's her story.
Also, Athens was not always the capital of Greece. Do you know what was before?
I think it was Nafplio.
Yeah, put you on the spot there. I didn't have that in our
You did.
notes.
I was literally going to say, oh my God, is it Nafplio?
The look on your face was like, oh my God, I didn't prepare for this. So we have to put a bit of a curveball sometime. So now we could talk about history endlessly about Athens. I'm not too huge fan of history. I just like to feel like I'm part of it when I'm walking around Greece. But we have decided to give this episode a slightly different angle and approach to Athens, giving you tips and tricks about how to spend a weekend in the city or a greekend.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah. I love that. So if any of you have not seen the campaign by the Greek Tourism Board, you have to. There was effectively, because Greece is actually closer to many countries, especially many European countries, than we think. And because like in Europe, it's very common to have a small city break, and you'd usually go to Spain or to Copenhagen. You'd go to all of these countries, and Athens was never on the list for many people.
Criminal.
So yeah. 100%. I mean, it was for us because we were accustomed to it, and I would do city breaks in Athens all the time, but it's not something that the average person tends to do. And I think that's because there was a gap in the market and people were not really understanding how many things you could do in Athens over the weekend. So the Greek Tourism Board has created this amazing campaign called A Greekend, which is effectively a weekend in Greece in one of the major cities, with Athens being one of them. And the advertisements that came out are just so real. I mean, if you were to look at them, they probably touch on the majority of the things that me and George would do in one weekend being in Athens. And it's just so much fun. So we definitely recommend watching the campaign, and we'll follow. Well, I mean, we will of course share them on the on our Instagram page. But if you do want to head over to the Greek Tourism Board, they go by the Instagram handle Visit Greece GR, and you can see a lot of the Greek end advertisements on there.
Yeah, okay, that's enough promo about the Greek Tourism Board. We should be bigging ourselves up, or they should sponsor this episode. Well, it's probably too late, but a future episode or a series. But seriously, we need to big us up, the My Greek Island crew, a bit more. Or if any of our listeners are social media or engagement gurus and want to give us some advice, our DMs are always open.
I hope this doesn't get us into trouble, but yeah. Do send us, and Greek Tourism Board, do sponsor us. We will be your voice. But yeah, so should we keep going before I get us into more trouble?
Yeah. I mean, you have to be bold sometimes. Okay, so let's start with the basics. You're heading to Athens for a short getaway, a Greekend, or for our international listeners, they might be going there for 3 or 4 days as part of a wider trip. So what would you say? Is 3 or 4 days enough?
I think that 3 to 4 days is definitely enough to give you a flavor of the city. However, I'm going to caveat, this is provided you stay somewhere convenient and close to the city centre, so you're not wasting time commuting and you're just mainly walking everywhere. Otherwise, you might not get the full feel of the city within those 3 to 4 days.
Mm-hmm. And when would you say is the best time to visit Athens?
I mean, given the fact that it does have good weather, and in the winter it doesn't really get that cold, although there have been some snowstorms over the past couple of years. In general, you can go any time of the year. Now, what I personally would avoid is July and August, because it does tend to get quite hot during those months. And although if you were to go in July, August, just don't stay in the city centre. Do what me and George do and just stay down by the seaside, which is referred to as the Athens Riviera, which I think, George, we have said that we're going to do a dedicated episode on the Athens Riviera, but I think that's in the pipeline.
Stay tuned.
And in the pipeline. But I am going to say that one of my favourite months to visit Athens is September. The reason being that it's hot, but it's not that hot. And there's also a lot of theatrical performances or concerts in the ancient theatre in the Acropolis during that month, which is an open air theatre. So that's my personal favourite month. Although I mean, you know that I go so many times a year. So
You
I
do.
would say any time a year is
Any
great.
time of year is a good time. So do we need a car, or if not, or if we do, how do we get to and from the airport to the city centre?
Okay, let's keep it simple. You don't need a car in Athens. Parking in the city centre is an absolute nightmare. If you're going for a few days and you're staying there, it's not worth the hassle. To get to and from the airport, you have 3 options: the underground, a bus, or a taxi. Now, the underground, or the metro as the Greeks refer to it, runs from approximately 6 in the morning until 11:30 p.m. The journey lasts 40 minutes, and trains run approximately every 30 minutes. And the cost of the journey is €10 each way, or if you buy a return ticket, it's 16. And I think there's something that if it's 2 or 3 people traveling together, then the cost goes down even more. So if you're someone like me that suffers from a bit of motion sickness and can't be in the back of a cab for more than 15 minutes, then the metro is definitely a great option. Otherwise, you have the bus, which is about $5.50 and it runs 24 hours, just it runs less frequently at night. And you also have the option of a cab. Now, a great initiative that they did in Athens is that they imposed a flat fare for taxis from the airport to specific areas. So the city centre of Athens, which is often referred to as the dactylio. So if you are going within the city centre, then during the day it's €40, and that's until midnight. And then from midnight until 5 in the morning, it's 55. So just bear that in mind. Of course, when you get to the airport and you get to the queue where people are standing for the taxis, there are signs telling you about this and showing you where the city centre is, for which the flat fare applies. Otherwise, you will be charged based on the taxi meter, but just bear in mind that whether you're going to the city centre or not, the taxi driver is obligated to turn on the taxi meter, but will charge you according to the flat fare depending on where you're going.
Amazing. So very good top tip around the taxis there, so you don't get ripped off. Now, we arrive in the city centre. Where are we staying?
Okay, so my personal preference and where I will usually tend to stay is somewhere near the Square of Parliament, which in Greek is Syntagma, which is also a train station for the underground, for the metro, or the area of Kolonaki. And if I stay in the area of Kolonaki, I tend to stay in parts of it which are either close to the metro station of Syntagma or the metro station of Evangelismos. And the reason I choose these areas is because they're safe. You will never feel that you're in a dodgy area of Athens. It's easy to walk around everywhere, and it's also easy access to the metro station to get to and from the airport.
Yeah, I've also stayed around the Theseo area, which I really like because it's very quiet and it's near like the Acropolis and all the museums. It's near the flea market as well, and it's generally very quiet, which is why I choose it.
And that, sorry, George, and that area which you mentioned is close to another underground station, which is called Monastiraki, which is also quite central. The reason I don't prefer Theseo is because it's quite further down, and I tend to go to more restaurants and bars which are further up, and hence just try to choose a place which is closer to the places that I would tend to go out.
Yeah. It's personal preference. I mean, for tourists maybe wanting to be next to all the museums and stuff, Theseo is a good shout. So, what should someone not miss if they are doing a greekend in Athens?
Well, number one, make sure that you have a comfortable pair of shoes with you and make sure you walk the city. I think exploring Athens is a way you can literally get into the vibe of the city, and also you avoid public transport, and you actually just get to see things as they're happening. And also another thing that I love about being on foot in Athens is that you, at various points in the city, you just get peaks of the Parthenon, and it's such a refreshing, to me, that peak is just so refreshing. It's so beautiful to see. And I challenge anyone that's listening to this episode and goes to Athens is to find my secret peaking spot, which there's a street called Eolu, which as you walk away from where the Parthenon is, you can't see the Parthenon on this street, but there's a specific spot which is very close to a square called Agia Irini, where there's loads of coffee shops. And if you turn around exactly at that spot on this street, you can see a majestic view of the Parthenon. Now, this is going to bring me into my second not to miss, and that's go to a coffee shop. Like the coffee culture in Greece is just absolutely brilliant. And as George said before, we've got a specific episode on this. So do not miss the coffee shop. Have coffee. Like at some point during the day, stop and have coffee. And I mentioned the square of Agia Irini. There are this square is just packed with coffee shops. And I would recommend stopping there for coffee at some point. So go find that spot, see the Parthenon, and then stop for coffee.
And also in this square, it is like you mainly get, locals hanging out there, because it's not right off the beaten track, but it's off the main side road, so you might not necessarily go there. And a really good bar that I've been to, it also have coffee but also cocktails. It's called Rooster, and it's very LGBT plus friendly, so check it out. And they also have great music, as with most places of sort,
and great coffee. So yeah, that's a great recommendation, George. The next thing I would say that you should not miss when visiting Athens, if of course that is what you enjoy and it rocks your boat, the nightlife. The nightlife can be so much fun, especially if you like live music. I think something that Greece in general differs to many countries is that Greek singers, they do concerts, but they mainly have a dedicated nightclub for a couple of months. So you know that for this specific period, singer XYZ is singing at this nightclub, and they will be singing every Friday, Saturday, blah, 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 for God knows how long. So you can book a table, you can head out with your friends, you can sit down, you can order your drinks, and you can enjoy that singer live from the comfort of being in the nightclub. So it's actually quite fun. And if you enjoy it, then I definitely recommend it. Although, caveat that the nightlife in Greece does have a very late start. So you could head out at midnight and be coming back at 6 a.m, which I understand is not for everyone. And then lastly, one thing that is not to be missed is the gastronomy. You need to experience the gastronomy in Athens. And one thing that I love about Athens is that there are places for all tastes and all pockets. And if you are into your fine dining, I would definitely recommend visiting some of the top restaurants in the city. The ones that I have been to so far, I have been so impressed. And I've enjoyed the meal so much, and I will talk about one further down.
Amazing. What's your favorite tourist attraction in Athens?
Well, I think I've already mentioned both of them. So it's the Acropolis, but it's my favorite tourist attraction, and I've said that you can see the Parthenon from various spots in the city, just in case you don't want to head up to it. Although if you were to head up to the Acropolis, it's definitely worth a visit. And the second is the ancient theatre in the Acropolis, which you can go to a play or a concert. And the most recent concert that I went to there was in 2021, September. I saw Sting perform live in the ancient theatre, the Acropolis, and it's one of the most magical moments I've lived to date. So that is my favourite tourist attraction, which you can... It doesn't just have to be a tourist attraction. It can be an experience as well.
Agreed. I think for me would be Philobabos Hill, which is just opposite the Acropolis, where you can walk up. I'm literally obsessed with it. I've talked about it in another podcast, but go check that out because it has an epic view facing the Acropolis, and not many people go there.
See, and it's also another spot in the city where you can get a glimpse of the Parthenon and the Acropolis, right?
So let's give our listeners some hidden gems that we've both prepared. So maybe you should make a start some hidden gems or old-time classics of Athens that they can take a note of.
Yep. So the first one I'm going to mention is the Old Market, which I say the Old Market, but it's literally never stopped working. So on one of the main streets, which is called Athinas, it's one of the biggest and main streets of Athens. There's approximately the middle of this street. On the one side, you have the meat market and the fish market, and on the other side, you have the vegetable market. But around the market, I mean, you don't have to go into the meat market because, of course, the smell, and you might be vegan or whatever. But around the market, there are some amazing local products to buy. And there are also a lot of interesting restaurants around. So if you go like from the sides, you can find some interesting all-time classic restaurants that you can visit. And I think recently a new kid on the block has entered the gastronomy scene that's actually in the market. And the market is referred to Varvagios. That's the name of it. But I would definitely recommend that as one of the hidden gems. The second is going to be a restaurant, which is called Karamanlidi Katoufani. So if you like your cold cuts and your cheeses, it's a great hidden gem to go and eat. But I would definitely recommend being more than two people or not being alone, like being a nice sized company, because in order to experience what they have to offer, you need to order quite a bit, and the portions are quite big. And then I think the next one I will say is there is an alleyway, a hidden alleyway, just off the street called Ermou, which is one of the main shopping streets in Athens, which is full of old signs from shops. And they've literally just filled the entire alleyway with these old signs. Now, I took you there, George, in the summer, and I think we've got a few videos, so it might be worth creating a reel about this.
Yeah, we need to commit to that.
We do need to commit to that. And then the last one I'm going to mention is an area called Anafiotika, and I'm going to give a history about this, where there's some staircases, and I think the street is called Menisikleus, where there's coffee shops on the stairs, and you can have coffee. And it's not a hidden gem anymore, but it's definitely an Instagrammable spot. And Anafiotika took its name, and if you go there, it's like a little island because there's little houses, etc. So I think the people from the island of Anafi moved to Athens, and they sort of built their houses there, and they built their houses in the way that they knew how to build them, like their houses were on the island. So it kind of reminds you of an island, and the area took its name from the people from Anafi, so that's why it's called Anafiotika.
Amazing. And in terms of my hidden gems, so there's actually two, well, they're not really hidden, but the stuff that I would recommend is make sure you go to the Acropolis Museum. It has an epic view again of the Acropolis from the rooftop. And I'm not really a fan of museums, but this is actually amazing. I do really like it. It's very modern. And the other one is the Stavros Nearchos Cultural Centre. It's towards Piraeus. It's near the sea, really. And it's a cultural centre. They have live events, there's festivals, there's everything. There's a huge library. Again, there you can go to the top and you can see an epic sunset. You can see quite a lot of Athens from there, and it's definitely recommended to visit. So yeah, there are my two. I think Maria covered the rest. One of the things that we should briefly touch upon before we get to our quick fire round is what should our listeners avoid when being in Athens?
I'm not going to say avoid, but I would say be cautious when you are choosing where you're going to stay. Some neighborhoods might feel a bit more unsafe than others at night. So make sure that you choose wisely so that your safety, so that you're safe.
So we're coming to our quick fire round. So this is quick fire. There's 6 questions. Are you ready for it, Maria?
I'm ready.
Okay, so what's your favorite brunch spot?
It's a place called Kolonagi in the area of Kolonagi, and my favorite dish is the baked crepe that they have with asparagus and parmesan.
What's your favorite bar?
Okay, I have many, but I'm going to give a shout out to one. And I was researching last night that an article was written about the owner for the same reason that I actually love the bar. So I was super excited. So the bar is called Pareltier. It's owned by a guy who's half Greek and half Italian. I think his name is Mario Bosso or something like that. And what this guy has done is he has created the most amazing version of a Negroni, which is he ages it in a barrel for 5 months. And I think he's a blessing and a curse at the same time. Blessing because he has the best Negroni I have ever had in my life, but a curse because I can no longer drink a Negroni anywhere else in the same way that I used to. So I would definitely recommend... He ages, I think, a couple of cocktails in a barrel. One is the Negroni and the other is a Manhattan. Definitely worth trying. Although there are definitely other bars that are super cool to visit. This specific one, you have to go for the aged Negroni.
Amazing. How about your favorite hidden gem? I think you mentioned it briefly above.
Yeah,
right?
the alleyway with the signs from the old shops.
We'll definitely post in that. What's your top place for food?
Okay, my top place for food at the moment, the winner is, and we've been together in the summer, George, is Loco Athens, which is a casual Mexican taqueria. And the menu has been designed by an amazing and famous chef called Athína. Huge shout out. He's such a great chef. And I love their cocktails as well. So definitely a place to go in the afternoon or like an early dinner for a casual Mexican with a nice cocktail.
Amazing. And we do know that you do like your vegan friendly spots and still trying to convince me to try some. So I think there are a few in Athens, aren't they now?
There's quite a few and more are popping up. So if you are vegan, Athens has you covered. There's quite a few spots to go. I'm going to mention 2. The one is the famous... the sweets, the loukoumades that you get in Athens. So there's a famous one on Eolu Street it's also called loukoumades. And because honey is not vegan, they have created versions of loukoumades which are vegan. So shout out for them. The second one I'm going to mention is Avocado, which is in the city centre just off Ermou Street. It's veggie, vegan only. And you can have a delicious meal there. And I just want to give a shout out to one of the fine dining restaurants that opened last year. It's called Soil, and it's in a beautiful neoclassical building in the area of Bangradi. And we visited last year. I don't know if they still do this, but when we visited when they first opened, they did create a veggie / kind of vegan version to the tasting menu to accommodate us, and I hope they still do it because it was actually an amazing experience. And I'm super happy because they've now received a Michelin star, but they also have received a Michelin green star, which means they're also sustainable gastronomy.
Ooh. That's very cool. That's really cool. I mean, that's where you went last year for your birthday, right?
Yeah, that is, yeah.
And I heard it was really good, yeah. And finally, what is your favourite shop? Now, you mentioned there's lots of little independent ones, but which ones are your favourite?
So my favourite are two. The one, I mean, I love my jewellery as well. So there is a jeweller in Athens. Her name is Margarita Meitani. And what she does is she engraves quotes from famous Greek poems on her jewellery. So I would definitely visit her. She's located on Leka Street. That's where her studio is, where she does all of her work. Is it a studio that you would refer to it in Greek? In English,
studio.
Sorry.
Studio.
In Greek
yeah,
is
like
ergastiri in Greek. Is that what
her
we
studio,
say?
workshop. Her
workshop. Her workshop is this. And I've also, if you have time, I mean, I have a custom-made ring for Margarita with a quote that I asked her to engrave on my ring. So if you have time for her to create that for you, then that's a great shout. And then the second shop that I absolutely love is a third-generation hat shop, which is called Giorgio Hatta, where you can get your hats for summer or winter. They have such a great collection, and that is on Voreo Street, which is very close to the station of Monastiraki. So, George, shall I fire those questions right back at you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've only got 4, but yeah, go for it. Let's see what mine are.
Okay, so favourite brunch spot?
So my favourite brunch spot is right in the centre in Psiri, and it's called Zambano. It has an epic brunch.
Yes.
It's one that you're yet to try. And another one that I've just remembered is called Ergon. So it looks like Ergon. It's on Mitropoleo Street. It's a new one. It's got like a deli, and then there's a rooftop with
although Ergon does exist in London as well. It's the same brand. It's the same brand.
It's the same brand.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's mine.
Okay, and then favourite bar?
So basically, I'm not too precious around cocktails. And I mean, obviously quality would be good, but I like most bars with a rooftop, if I'm honest. So make sure when you are in the centre of Athens that you look up, not just ahead and around, look up, because many of the buildings, or not many, a lot of buildings will have a rooftop bar perched on them where you can just have your cocktail or your coffee or your non-alcoholic drink and look at the Acropolis, especially in the evening. Epic.
And what's your favourite hidden gem?
So my favourite hidden gem, I usually go every year. This is mainly for summer. It's in Monastiraki, right in the centre. If you're around in the middle of the day or in the evening when it's really hot, but you just want to chill out, there's a bar called Six Dogs. And it kind of, it's in this garden. I can't really describe. I felt like I was in Thailand when I was there, because there was like trees and you can have like wooden chairs, and it's just very nice. And it also, I think, does some food, so I'd recommend that. Definitely it is off the beaten track. I don't think I've really seen tourists there.
Yeah, and we've also mentioned it in the Greek coffee culture episode, because you had mentioned it as one of your favourite coffee shops. And a great thing to know about Six Dogs is that it is off the beaten track. You actually have to go under a building in order to get to it. It's a great place on those hot days because it's got shade, so it's a lovely place to enjoy your coffee or your drink when it's quite hot during the summer in Athens. And okay, the last one. What is your top place for food? And I know what you're going to say, and I'm a bit annoyed, but anyway, I'll explain why after.
Okay, well, my favourite place that I got introduced to by my other friend called Maria is called Nolan, which is very hard to get a reservation in.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it's top-notch food for a good price. I had this Korean fried chicken, which was amazing, and it actually infuses Greek and I think Asian style cuisines together. But if you do go there, it is in the centre, you need to book in advance.
Yeah.
What are you going to say about it? It does have a famous chef from like some sort of Greece's top chef or something, whatever it's called, master chef, but I mean, I didn't know that.
What I was going to say is that it's very difficult to get a reservation, and it's a very small restaurant, and I've been trying to book for next month and it's fully booked, so that's why I'm annoyed, because I've been wanting to go to this restaurant for years and I haven't managed to do so because it's just always fully booked.
No, I think we were just lucked out to get there. So yeah, Nolan. So as with every podcast, we have a Greek word of the day, and I think we both can agree that we have a deep love for Athens. So the word of the day is going to be I love Athens, which is Agapó την Αθήνα.
Αγαπώ την Αθήνα. Or we could say another way of saying I love Athens, which is sort of I adore Athens, is Latrévo την Αθήνα. Did you hear how I rolled my R, George?
Latrévo την Αθήνα.
Latrévo την Αθήνα. Okay. Right, my Greek Islanders, I think this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast. So thank you, George, for giving me and our listeners your tips in addition to mine on this episode.
Thank you very much, and enjoy your greekend, everyone.
Enjoy your
next time.
greekend.
Right, my Greek Islanders, this comes to the end of another episode of this podcast.
Now you know the drill. If you like this episode, share it to share the love with the My Greek Island community, where everyone is welcome. And
don't forget to follow, like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and maybe give us a little rating from wherever you're listening to us from, so you are notified every time a new episode drops. And if you have any suggestions or requests, get in touch.
And for those of you visiting Greece, don't forget to tag @MyGreekIsland on Instagram for a future feature. Until then, see you later, or as they say in Greek,
Ta λέμε.